Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are on this beautiful planet. Welcome to 2CTV, your global news channel. We have some ongoing situation across England, specifically in the United Kingdom, over the last few hours. And as we speak, protests in a number of towns in England. Actually, over the last few days, over the last week, we've had escalation in terms of the anti-illegal migration protests by the British Patriots. Of course, a few days ago, we had the big one in Epping in Essex. As we speak, Epping is still seeing the local people who have come out. The police have already started making arrests there, but we're also going to bring you some videos from other towns and cities, including Hull. Obviously, throughout the weekend, we've had situations, even in Dover. We're going to show you that as well, and a number of other places, including Aldershot. So let me show you the first video. This is the protests in Epping, once again outside the Migrant Hotel. This time, before anything even started, the riot police arrived immediately. Usually they wait to see if anything escalates first, and then they do that. But this time they said, no, we're going to send everybody there, including getting support from the Metropolitan Police in London. Let's go to Epping. Yeah, that's the Essex police themselves. They also have the Metropolitan Police from London. This is before anything kicked off. This is about a few hours ago. As you can see, that's the Bell Hotel. Now, before we show you the escalation in Epping, Patriots also have come out in a number of other places over the last couple of hours, also in the northern parts of England, in Hull. And we do have a short video from there. We are getting more videos as we speak, by the way, so stay with us as we completely cover everything that's going on today and this weekend in general in the UK, because the mainstream media is not reporting any of this. Surprise, surprise. Let's go to Hull.
And they're paying for it! Are we stupid? Are we stupid?
People have started to gather slowly.
To take priority over us, and we're letting the government do it. Why are we letting them do it?
Yeah, this is just the beginning, of course. A small group have already gathered in Hull making speeches. As you can see, they're just angry, but it's peaceful anyway. But the moment you have the left-wingers, especially Antifa and Stand Up Against Racism guys, when they come out to provoke, of course, the police gets involved and the whole thing kicks off, which I'm going to now go back to Essex. I'm going to show you what's going on there, as the police have already started making a number of arrests. Before we do that, don't forget, obviously, on the 9th of August, we have our first ever international new media conference in London. Make sure to join us. You can get more information about this by going on 2cevents.tv. The link is in the description. If you use the promo code 2C50, you will get 50% off tickets. Unfortunately, the after party tickets and the VIP breakfast tickets have already been sold out, but we do have the standard conference tickets. Make sure to check out the website to see who else is coming. We are getting new media outlets from around the world. Now let's go back to Essex. The police have decided to start arresting a number of people as some altercations happened between the left and the local British Patriots. That's one gone. By the way, big shout out to all the independent reporters who are out there right now in the country, including Emma Donwell, who is out there filming this, and there's a number of other people as well. We've been sent all these, a number of other videos as well, our team have received, so special shout out to everybody who is out there. Throughout the whole weekend, we've had a number of protests. Anyway, most of it has really not been reported. Some have been reported by the local press and newspapers, but nobody really reads the local newspapers. Let's go to Dover, for example. It's been an interesting turn of events, because a lot of people were thinking that this is going to turn completely violent. It didn't get violent in that sense. People were peaceful. A lot of angry local people who were different ages, both genders, everybody came out. And even though the political left really tried to provoke, it could have gone much worse, but it didn't. Let's go to Dover. Yeah, now the situation outside the Bell Hotel, the migrant hotel, is still escalating with heavy presence by the police. As I said, both the Essex police and also support coming from London, the Metropolitan Police, who have sent out their resources as well. Let's quickly go to Bell Hotel and see what's been happening there.
Are they going KFC or something? I'm not sure. Who's arrested? Only one. I've seen one. One got arrested, but I don't know that. You know what I mean?
That's one arrested already.
Oh, that's how they're alternating. Oh, they're alternating. These ones getting in the van and they're alternating. They must have been here from early. They must have been here from early, mate. They must have been here.
Yeah, the situation across the other towns and cities is still ongoing. A lot of them, including Epping, is still ongoing, but Hull apparently will end soon. But of course, we're going to bring you guys all the updates on that. We have some interesting creatures in the live chat already. This person says this news you show is not at all breaking. Why advertise it as such? Usually that happens because it's ongoing and it's happening right now, present time. That's right now, breaking now, and nobody else in the mainstream media has decided to break this story, so we are breaking it, and it is still ongoing. That is, it's the English language. It will be good if you learn how to do that, considering that your name is technically supposed to be, I believe, English name, right? David, you know, could be American, could be British, I don't know. Again, once again, big shout out to Emma Donwell for being out there today. Let's go to Emma's video from Essex. This is from about an hour ago or so. Let's quickly watch this.
Mate, can you come and have a word with me? Like, do you know what I mean? He ain't fucking, he's only just got out. I understand you doing your job. Get aggressive for no reason. Wait. Can you take one of us over there and say to him that George is on his way with his paperwork? Alright. Oh, Jesus Christ, bro. I just come out of there yesterday for that.
Yeah, but if there's...
Yeah, I mean, right now there is a lot of people are thinking that this could, I mean, primarily it's been happening in England, especially over the last few days. We had Essex, Dover, and obviously today we have Aldershot. We're going to go to Aldershot in a second, in Hull, in Essex. But the same problems are happening in Wales, in Scotland. Let's not forget about obviously Wales, because the local people in Wales have been protesting regularly outside a couple of the migrant hotels, peacefully of course, although there was an incident a couple of months back. That was just the police escalating things, but that's kind of calmed down. But so these guys are still protesting, just because you know, we're not hearing much about it in terms of the mainstream media or even on social media. It doesn't mean it's actually everybody's happy with the situation in the country. Someone says you are the only channel to show just what is happening to see. Thank you very much. Of course, there are other independent channels and broadcasters who are doing this as well, including the British Stand. Big shout out to our friend Dan Grant as well for covering these sort of things regularly. Locals in Aldershot have also come out, a large demonstration outside, this time their Potter's Migrant Hotel. For those of you who are familiar with this specific hotel, which has had a lot of controversies around it. This is a video, it's just come out, local people starting to gather outside. By the way, if anybody has any information from other areas, let me know in terms of if you know there are other protests in other places, because we know they are happening, but we have to find the actual videos and sources first. Let me know in the live chat. We'll get our team on top of that to get in touch with people on the ground. That's the thing. So a lot of people are saying, for example, Aldershot, this is just the beginning of the gathering outside the hotel. They're saying, they might say, oh, why is it that these protests are small? Let's not forget, there are multiple protests happening across England, and these are all small local areas. There are tiny, tiny places, and you have small, obviously, group of people who are local. You're not going to get 1 million people in a small village to come out. And considering if there was all in one place, one protest, for example, outside Parliament, then obviously it will be a much, much larger crowd. These are the concerned local people who are fed up. And most of these places only have a population of, I don't know, 10,000, 20,000, if that. And they're coming out, and they know because the demographic is changing rapidly. The situation that we've had until now, over the last few years, couple of decades, was that big cities initially changed because most of the illegal migrants were in big cities. And it started slowly, so not many people noticed because it was a big city, and you might think people walking around, it might be tourists, it might be anybody, right? But when it started happening in smaller towns and villages, then obviously people can see the change quickly. When you have a tiny, tiny village and a massive group of illegal migrants, men, young military-age men, come, obviously the local people are like, well, we're now walking around, going to our supermarkets, and we can see that the demographic of the local area has changed. This is why we have to talk about this. This is why, again, big shout out to all the independent broadcasters, again, for also covering these sort of things, including British Stand, Paz, and many others as well, who have been pretty good on focusing on these sort of stories, even if the rest of the mainstream media continue to ignore this. So again, big shout out to Paz 49, British Stand, and many others, if I can't remember names right now. Let's talk about also Dover, obviously. Let me show you another clip from Dover over the weekend. Obviously, this one is not breaking news, but it's important to put them all together in case you have missed it, in case you haven't seen on social media. Let's show you the next clip. Nice. Good. This is how you do it. Slowly, people come out peacefully. And let's not forget, the other reason that you might not instantly get tens of thousands of people, apart from the fact that, as I said, these are small areas mostly. Apart from that, the fact that a lot of local people, the British culture, they're not revolutionary people. They're always peaceful people, incredibly, sometimes too much, kind, generous, and patient. But again, there's a limit when it comes to patience and tolerance. But because they're not necessarily always ready to burn cars, like on a Tuesday in Paris, a lot of people are scared to even come out, especially after what happened last summer in Southport and across England, when the protests turned into riots and clashes and everything else. People have been skeptical about even coming out, but they are slowly waking up. They are slowly realizing, and also they have to find out about these sort of protests on a local level. But the communication is getting better on social media. But let's not forget that the complications we've had yesterday and today is also in London, but from the other side, because while the British Patriots have been coming out with the St. George's flags, Union flags, to actually say that we care about our country, we also have the political left going hand in hand with Islamists doing the exact opposite. A bunch of middle-class champagne socialists who are going out there spoiled because they're bored, and they are literally aiding the enemies of this country, or now in the West in general. The far left, the communists and the Islamists. So 55 arrests have been made and been confirmed, at least, in London this weekend because of the Palestine Action Group, who come out once again. For the record, recently the UK Parliament banned this organization, the Palestine Action. They come out to say, oh, we were just fighting against genocide, but they themselves are a terrorist organization and their activities. The police have actually, for once, big shout out to the London Metropolitan Police for finally acting and trying to keep things stable. These, I'm going to show you some of the videos from the arrests of the political left and the Islamists. Well, the arrests are primarily the left-wing middle-class champagne socialists.
We do not comply to all. Sign up to join hundreds of us on the 9th of August.
Where's it gone?
9th of August, that's our conference.
We must take action in this country to defend our rights to protest and the corruption of our government and its complicity in the genocide.
Oh, come
Join
on.
us on the 9th of August. Hundreds of us will be holding signs.
Well, that's good.
We will not comply. We want the UK government to lift the ban on Palestine Action, a direct action group. This is
What?
not a terrorist organisation.
Hang on. So, okay, the good news is, look at that face. The good news is that on the 9th of August, which is also coincidentally our new media conference in London, the Palestine Action will be out in Westminster, not too far from where we're going to be. But the Palestine Action will be too busy doing their own thing. So hopefully they're not going to be outside our venue. We're going to have different group outside our venue protesting. I mean, they're all the same. They just have different flags. Yeah, if you're coming to the new media conference, you might have extra entertainment if you want to walk down the road to Westminster to near Parliament. So you can see these guys. It's like Animal Planet or the Discovery Channel where you can just go in the wild and watch the weirdos. More champagne socialists and limousine liberals have been arrested in London. Let me show you the next video. This one is funny.
We demand that we lift the ban on Palestine Action. Our government is actively involved in a genocide. There are people being gunned down in queues for AIDS. And
What?
the government is using terror laws.
Oi, stop kicking legs around or I'll put you in leg restraints. It's entirely up to you.
Interlock the legs together, both of them.
There we go.
Keep
The
going.
government is using anti-terror laws to silence people who are taking action against this genocide. Sign up at wedoNotComply.org
What?
on the 9th of August.
Okay, I just have one tiny criticism. I'm very much in favor of your passion, but I didn't see any passion. Where was the enthusiasm? There was no energy. I mean, that other girl, she was good. She was like, oh. He was like, yeah, government, bad, Hamas, good. Have some energy, have some Red Bull before you go to a protest. You know, it might help you. How are you going to be any sort of political leader if you can't? And then the police had to tell him off. They like to be told off, by the way, because they usually have mommy-daddy issues. And he had to pause. Then he had to start again. Yeah, government bad. The same Labour government that's literally been attacking Israel and putting sanctions on Israel. But apparently, for Palestine Action, David Lammy and Keir Starmer are still not doing enough to help the Islamists. Two other women were also arrested for holding placards that said, Palestine Action are not terrorists. I mean, literally legally they are. Because even our messed up parliament decided that they are. This is the rule of law. Watch this. No shame on them. Wow. I mean, they're just walking them, so and she's smiling. She's happy. And they're behaving like as if they've been sent to the gulags or something. You're being treated in a very civilized way by the Metropolitan Police. The same Metropolitan Police, if they were going to do the same thing to the right-wingers or Patriots, nationalists, they would be dragging them. But with these two, they're like, no, it's fine. just let them walk. And, you know, they're smiling. I don't even know how many of them are going to get fully charged. I think some of them will. But how many of them will actually get prosecuted? So that's the question, because it's not really just up to the police. The next step is up to the justice system in the UK, which, for those who are familiar with the justice system in Britain, it may not be the most efficient and accurate system in the world, which is a bit of a shame, considering that Britain did essentially create, at the time, the most robust justice system in the world, that actually decided to export it to the rest of the world as well. Crazy times. But yeah, if they wanted their 50 minutes of fame, we will give them the 50 minutes of fame. Why not? It's also funny to kind of see that. But also I have to be objective. I have to show both sides, right? Anyway, let's get some reactions. Only stopping the boats won't help. Won't help or will help? Oh yeah. Also need to ban halal certification. Burqa faith schools else in the UK is gone. I mean, it's funny because the British Muslim Council of Britain, whatever it's called, the Muslim Council of Britain said that if halal is banned, almost all Muslims will leave the country. And then somebody was like, well, that just makes everything easier. You don't need to have a crusade. But again, there's a lot of people who are just culturally, they're born into these families, and they've been told not to eat bacon, for example. How are you going to change that? I don't understand. Your cops don't have guns. Why are you letting them do this to you? Well, because they still have pepper sprays and tasers and everything else. So I think the other thing is, Michael is obviously guessing from the United States. Most people in Britain, even let's just say angry nationalists, they tend not to be that angry in terms of action. They tend not to be that physical or violent compared to many others in other countries. So there might be a bit of resistance. For example, if they believe that they are being arrested in an unjust way, they might just kick off and say, "Don't arrest me." But they tend not to. Overall, they tend not to, for example, punch a police officer. I mean, apart from the Muslim brothers in the Manchester airport, but they're not British, obviously, in that sense. Yeah, I mean, so that's why I think that there's still that level of the British culture, which is, as I said, incredibly patient and tolerant and nice, which sometimes could go too far. But as I said, do not underestimate people in Britain, because there is eventually a line where enough is enough. Will be very, very dangerous for the political establishment if they don't get their act together. Robert says, good evening, my fellow Patriots, and a warm welcome to the trolls. Yes, big shout out to the trolls in the live chat. We need to grow that spine again that our grandparents had. I think it will be helpful for the both the education system, but also the media. And by media, I'm talking about, for example, the state media, the BBC. For them to actually start reminding. I mean, they're not going to do it voluntarily, so you're going to have to reform the system and take over. It will be good for the media platforms and the education system to start talking about the previous generations. Primarily the war generation, primarily those who were around in the 1930s and 1940s. And even the stories from the 1910s, when you had the First World War, the Great War. Talk about the attitude of those people. Talk about the sacrifices that those guys made. The beginning of the 20th century, mid-20th century, I think people are taking things for granted because we don't tend to talk about it much. And by me, I'm not talking about me or you guys, I'm talking about many other people, especially more middle-class liberal families. They are taking things for granted. They tend to forget that their own grandparents, their own grandfathers, for example, who sacrificed their lives, and they were young, just to make sure that the future generations have liberty and democracy. These are basic things, by the way. There has to be a way to do a reminder. Now, there's a comment says, those Afghans and Pakistanis will change the UK. They run for power, then impose Sharia very slowly but steadily. Islam never enriched any society. Wake up. I mean, primarily, again, if I were to do stereotype, When you think about certain cultures from Pakistan who come here, again, not everybody, because there's still a few people who have come from Pakistan because they were sick and tired of Pakistan itself. But generalization of those who are very still proactively Islamic and political, they become very political in the UK because they still fly the Pakistani flag, by the way, but they don't actually care much about Pakistan. They're just using it against Britain. They know that, for example, they would never be able to have a political platform if they go back to Pakistan. Not all of them. You need to have power and corruption in Pakistan to get to the top. It's very corrupt. So what they end up doing, because they are very culturally, religiously political, because Islam is a political ideology, when they come to the UK and we are tolerant, again, not me and you, just society and the system. So obviously, there is a vacuum. These people would say, well, I'm going to get involved with local politics. Because a lot of people, not everybody, but a lot of people, and I'm talking about primarily white British people, don't really care much about local politics. Some do, but a lot don't. A lot don't even vote in local elections, local politics councils. It's boring, right? So who gets involved? The others. The demographic change when it comes to local councillors across the country, specifically England, compared to the MP. Everybody's talking about MPs, members of parliament in the House of Commons. That's also changing, but not as rapidly yet. Not yet. It will. But compare the percentage of, for example, right now it is independent Islamist MPs that you have, right? Compare it to the percentage of people who are basically similar, that the kind of Islamist backwards, a lot of them from places like Pakistan, in local councils. Because the other people in the country don't really find it interesting to get involved. And by the way, I'm not saying that's the only reason, by the way, because there's a lot of other problems, because a lot of the local white British people don't really want to get involved with the Labour Party or the Tory Party. Maybe some are getting involved with reform now. There's an opportunity for some people, if they believe in reform policies. But obviously those guys are, especially the Pakistanis, would say, well, because they have a political mind. Whether you like it or not, they have a political mind because their whole culture and ideology is political. They are aware. So they're going to get involved with local politics. A lot of local councillors, especially in urban areas in the north of England, are now basically Islamists. And that's how it changes. As this comment says, imposing Sharia slowly but steadily. It will start with tiny things, as it's already happening. First, demographic changes in communities, in local areas. You can see parts of Luton, parts of Birmingham, Glasgow, where neighborhoods, demographic has just changed because a lot of babies and mass waves of obviously people from the Islamic side moving there, which means automatically a lot of other people moved out, which means local pubs, and that, the concept of pubs, from a lot of people watching from around the world, you might not see the urgency of why that matters. You might say, well, I'm not even a drinker. Why is a pub important? Pub as a concept is extremely important when it comes to the culture of this country. And it's symbolic. At least it's symbolic. I mean, there's also other reasons for it. These pubs are closing down. And that's before any policy change. That's the demographic change. It starts with that. And then obviously they would say, well, local politicians are changing democratically. The mandate is more Islamic. It would be nice if people would dress more modestly. I'm just exaggerating, but that's how it starts. And then make sure everything is halal in the area. So no bacon, for example. Talk about the future. But it's coming very fast. And then the national parliament will change. That's the houses of parliament, the mother of all parliaments. And again, the demographic will change there, which means that democratically and legally, MPs will be able to change not just legislations, but the constitution of this country. What are you going to do about that then? If you don't do anything radical now, not necessarily just to oppose mass migration or just to oppose Islamism, no. You have to also be able to, most people have to be able to promote the values of the country. And this doesn't just apply to the United Kingdom. I'm a defender of the West. Same applies to people in Canada. Same applies to people in Sweden. Then France specifically. You shouldn't just be against something. You should also be pro something, pro West, the Western values. Otherwise, you're just fighting against something without filling it with the alternative, which should be status quo. That's the big challenge right now. Let me just quickly get some reaction from the members of 2C TV Plus while we are here in our chat forum. What do we have from you guys? Dawn says, praying for all of you in the UK, stay strong. You all need to turn shame on you into let's go Brandon, like the Americans. Are the police bussing in counter-protesters again? They do tend to escort them, at least. If you've seen the videos, even in Epping in Essex a few days ago, they're like, yeah, feel free to go that way. The question is, are we going to have football supporters coming out in a unison with all other football fans, forgetting any rivalries and joining together as one to wake up the masses? And rugby, cricket for that matter. Cricket fans, the cricket hooligans, imagine. Yeah, but it's a good point. It's a fair point to be made. But I don't. To be fair, it's just the beginning of the summer, and I have a feeling it's going to be a rough summer in Europe, but specifically in the UK. Of course, we also had the protests in Poland a couple of days ago, and some other places as well. And that's the Poland that has good government policies, but they can see the border crisis in Poland because there's a massive attempt of invasion. Proud of the British Patriots finally here in Toronto. The pro-Palestine Islamists were arrested yesterday for the first time in almost 2 years. Of course, the left is having a meltdown. Thanks, Maya, and stay safe. Good. Go on, Canada. Even Toronto. Time to join a shooting club, Maya, and co in the UK. Seems our police hate the British people. Yeah, I think but the recruitment system in the establishment in general, and it's not when people keep saying DEI, they make it very simplified. It's not just the DEI as a problem, the diversity, equity, inclusion nonsense. It goes back to that, but it's not, because if you just throw a word around like woke or DEI, you don't actually address the real problem. The problem that you have when it comes to, for example, recruitment systems in the NHS, in the police, it's not just pro-DEI, it's anti-British. That's the primary thing, because there's a lot of people who would get recruited, not necessarily fast-track because they are, I don't know, brown or have multiple genders. It just attracts more people who might not actually care much about Britain or Canada or other countries. The system has been created in a sense that it would just attract more people who are at best liberal-minded, at worst just completely anti-West. So the system just basically repels a lot of more patriotic people. A lot of more patriotic people are not even applying anymore to join the police compared to before. Some do, some try, and some might not get in because they might be white, straight men. But a lot of people don't even bother joining the police. So the system has been created in a way to attract the other side, whether intentionally or accidentally, right? Intentionally. These dull tossers are shouting shame on you. Oh, that's the left. They should be ashamed for the life that they lead. Without benefits, they would die. So some of them would be on benefits, but a lot of them are middle-class champagne socialists. They have a lot of money, and the younger ones are either on trust funds, getting money from mommy and daddy. The older ones, they are the middle-class pensioners who have a lot of money, so they have the time to come to central London on a Tuesday or a Wednesday. Which is why also that's compared to the mostly the British Patriot side, the more conservative-leaning side, who are not able to come out on a Thursday late afternoon because they're going to be busy either with their own businesses or with their own work or whatever else, because they're actually focusing on providing for their families and paying the bills in the middle of all this mess. Another super chat saying halal food should be banned, animal welfare cruel. And Michael says prohibition destroyed the saloon culture in the US and smoking bans crushed the bar scenes. Yeah. It's interesting though, the smoking ban in the UK since 2007, with the smoking inside, actually created a different problem because there's a lot of people who started smoking because everybody was forced to go outside to make sure they can follow their other friends who had to go outside to smoke. A lot of people started smoking because of that, but then vaping culture became huge in the UK. I got into vaping for a while as well. This is a few years back. Luckily, I stopped because it was terrible for my throat. But mostly because, you know, all the friends, half the friends from your table have to go outside. Then you're going to have to follow them. So it was a lose-lose situation, because at this point, it's kind of unthinkable bringing back smoking indoors, because, you know, it's just chaotic, the thought of it. For the countries like the UK who haven't had it in years, people are like, no, we can't even see the whole smoking inside, because, you know, secondhand smoking and everything else. But a bit of flexibility might have helped. If there's an establishment, a restaurant or a bar that's big enough and have a separate room with a door, with a good fan or something, extraction fan, then maybe you could have just a smoking section. But we don't do that here. So yeah, that's just one thing. But yeah, but the prohibition was a very, very good example. We have a new viewer on 2C TV, a troll, who has a very, very fair point, relatively. Jacob says, Jacob Ismail, you did so well, says, this guy speaking looks like a Pakistani. Jacob, I mean, I'm guessing that's your name. Your surname is Ishmael. Pot kettle. For the record, I'm Persian. And if you tell other fellow Persians if they're Pakistani, they're going to get very, very angry. I don't really care, but I'm only relatively more tanned these days because I've been in the sun, especially when I went to Spain last week. So if I'm a little bit more tanned than usual, that's because of the sun. Anyway, Jacob Ishmael is not happy, guys. We have people like that. I love that. Anyway, so there's going to be a lot more updates. I'm still waiting for our team to send us some more footage from the ongoing protests. To be fair, it's been mostly peaceful, apart from the situation in Essex, where the police have started to arrest a number of people. We don't know the number of people, how many have been arrested so far. Last time it was a few dozen, about a dozen, sorry. But I will get some more information later for you guys. Make sure to subscribe to the channel on Maya 2C, and don't forget, download the 2C TV app, the home of geopolitical news, from your app stores today to get access to everything that we have. Much more content than just the breaking news live stream on YouTube. I'm Maya 2C, and we are the media.